The African Council of Churches has expressed concern over the assault incident that occurred at the Maselspoort Resort and Conference Centre on Christmas Day. The council says condemning the act is not enough unless there are moves towards changing the national direction on race and ethnicity. To discuss this further, we're joined by the South African Council of Churches General Secretary, Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Bishop. And I mean, it comes at a time when we were mourning and at the same time celebrating the life of fallen Bishop Desmond Tutu, that we are seeing such heinous incidents of racism against some of the country's youngest people. Surely this does not sit well, not only with yourself as an individual, but like you say, as a council. This is something that is absolutely unacceptable. But how do we change the state of affairs in a country so wounded?
You know, the timing of this horrible act of, I mean, it's not just bullying, it's just hatred. It could not have been worse. Just on the eve of Archbishop Desmond's first anniversary of his departure. But I'm actually reminded of something very special about Desmond in relation to swimming and kids. When he became the first Black Archbishop of Cape Town in 1986, there was a big issue about whether he could live at Bishop's Court, which was a white suburb, and blacks could not live there. And of course, the Anglican law requires that the Archbishop of Cape Town should reside at Bishop's Court. You know what he did? He invited children from all around the township to come and swim at the swimming pool. Now, you can imagine how this must sit with him, that a child on the eve of the anniversary of his death, a child is bullied away from a swimming pool. I just think that he would have been revolted by this. Yes, we're saying that it's not enough to condemn because it happens all too often. I mean, these are adult men hitting and bullying children. One is actually throttling this little boy, and then two others are pushing this boy, another boy, into the water, like, say, we're going to drown you. I have a personal experience on this. My boy was 8 years old, and he's probably 42 now, if not older. But yes, he's 42. At 8 years old, he was jumped on. First of all, they were chased away from a place in Gqeberha called Happy Valley, where, because they are black, they shouldn't be there. And then we go to the beach. And at the beach, I send the child to the car to get something from the car. And just as he's fiddling with the key to try and open the car, what happens? Again, adult white men jump on him. He must be a thief because he's black. What is he doing at a car? And that boy, who's now an adult man, can never forget that experience. And I know that this is going to stay with these children. There is a lot that needs to happen. We need to say to them, we can be a different South Africa. And that this is why we're saying it's not enough to condemn. We've got to work at changing the environment. The South African Council of Churches is committing, in the name of Desmond Tutu, to use 2023 onwards to work for a nation-building initiative that will say, yes, we are part of the same real estate called South Africa, but that now we're not a nation. We must become a nation. There will be efforts to be made that must make sure that we deal with our racist as well as tribalist tendencies in this society. We have to work at this together.
Yes, absolutely, because as you say, the trauma, as you described that horrific incident of your son, that trauma remains with an individual for a lifetime in most cases. And so the children of today should not have to carry those burdens into their adulthood as our predecessors did. Tell us a little bit more about
But you know
this.
that it was easier to explain to my children at the time that this is apartheid. How do you explain to these children? What do you call this today in democracy? What do you call it? You can't kind of like explain it away as apartheid. There's no apartheid anymore, at least in the law.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. And your talk about
and
nation
I'm
building.
That if these people were so concerned about this, why didn't they just go to the administration of that resort and say, we think there's something the matter here, can you help? I mean, it's just hatred. It's evil, evil without remainder, as Desmond would say.
No, absolutely evil indeed. It cannot be denied. And so I just want us to delve quickly into that nation-building initiative that you're going to be taking on in 2023 as a council. And if you have approached other stakeholders or other organizations, because one would think with a problem of this magnitude, you're going to need as much hands on deck to deal with it effectively.
Absolutely, indeed, you're dead right. We will be engaging a lot of other. It has to be a national initiative. It cannot be a single organization's initiative. I just want to say that in relation to this, there are certain basic values around which we need to coalesce. We need to be able to agree on what defines, I often hear people saying that, what so-and-so has done is un-ANC or whatever. I don't think we should be talking about something that's un-ANC or un-whatever. We should say this is un-South African. What is it that defines, how do we socialize for a South Africa we can be proud of? And that's why you need to deal with all organizations so that you have got a kind of a common agenda of socialization for a better character of a South African child, man, and woman.
Bishop, unfortunately in South Africa, race and hatred are not the only things that plague our people. The lack of service delivery, severe poverty, and lack of accountability from local and provincial leaders. We let you listen to that report by Pulele Treaty-Jones, who is in Pretoria, voicing those who say they've been living without water for a lengthy time. And while their calls have been ignored by their leaders, and they are fed up and they are demanding basic service delivery. This is shocking. In 2022, we're begging for something that was promised to us back in 1994. What are your thoughts on instances like that?
That instance defines the reality of Black South Africa. In our statement, you'll have noticed, we made reference to Mr. Mbeki's 1998 statement where he says South Africa has got two nations. One is white and the other is black. And the white has got everything, and the black has got these service delivery problems they're talking about. And he said then that if this persists, the idea of a nationhood will become a mirage. And we are saying as SACC, we cannot afford for this to continue to persist. And that is why those people are part of the community of poverty. We believe that 99% of poverty in South Africa is between so-called colors and so-called Africans. These are black people whose lives have changed, yes, some, but they remain outside of the economy. That's why we call this the excluded majority. That has to be part of it. In fact, one of the initiatives in our interventions is about economic transformation in a way that includes the excluded majority into the productive economy. So, yes, that reality speaks to exactly what we're talking about. It has to stop.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for those insights, Bishop. That is the South African Council of Churches General Secretary, Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana, weighing in on that racist incident in the Free State, but also broadly the socio-economic issues that continue to plague South Africa as a whole.